Hi, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of Full Court Podcast with your host, Orazio Cauchi. In this brand new episode, we're going to focus on several things, both the Greek clubs, but we're going to talk about something else too. And this week, my guest is my colleague at BasketNews.com, Giorgos Kyriakidis. Giorgos, welcome.
Hello, Orazio. Welcome. Nice to be able to talk with you again.
Yeah, it's the second time on the podcast for Giorgos. So now you and Miguel are tied for the most hosted so far. With Giorgos, as I was saying before, we're going to talk a little bit about the Greek clubs in EuroLeague. Also, because this week we're going to have again the Greek derby on Thursday. But with Giorgos also, we're going to focus a little bit on the interview that he had with Malcolm Delaney of Olympia Milan, or Armani Exchange Milan, if we're going to use the title, the official title. And to get started, of course, I want to start with Giorgos about the very, very nice interview that he had with Malcolm Delaney of Olympia Milan. By the way, there's going to be a second part of the interview that is going to come on the website. So be sure to stay focused on BasketNews.com to see that second part. What I wanted to ask you, Giorgos, is Delaney opened up a little bit in that interview about his future, talking about the fact that at this point of his career, he believes that the season in Europe is probably too long for him because with such a long season, he doesn't have enough time to focus on his side businesses and on his family. So most likely this could be his final season in Europe, in European basketball. What I wanted to ask you is, do you think that based on the conversation that you had with him, that Delaney is absolutely set on this decision? So this will be probably the last few games that we're going to see him playing in Europe?
Orazio, thank you for the kind words. You shared about the Delaney interview, and there is actually a second part coming out very, very soon. It will be mostly about Barcelona, his time with Barcelona, and what happened there, and how he got to sign with Armani Milan, right following his stint in Catalonia. Delaney is not exactly 100% sure that he's leaving Europe, for good at the end of the season. But as you said, he's got many irons in the fire, let's say. He's got many businesses right now. He owns some properties. He's involved in several projects. And right now, I think this will be, as he said, his last full season in Europe. If he's going to return anytime soon in the old continent, it will be for some months. During the season, starting from December, for instance, or later on at some point. I asked him about his plans and whether he's contemplating retirement, as Kyle Hines said he is in the past. He said that Kyle Hines has more years than me. But the Delaney situation is a bit different because he's got a brother who's dealing with several health issues. There are things that will keep him in the States for a period of some months. I don't know if it's going to be years, but months in any case. There's still a chance for him to come back to Europe. And if he does return, he wants it to be in Milan, as he said. Possibly coming over later, but that's not a priority for him right now. He's made a considerable amount of money playing basketball in Europe for almost a decade now, since playing in France in his first professional season back in 2011, 2012. Later on with Budivallnik, Kiev, Lokomotiv Kuban, I think from the Bayern stints and later on with Loco and Barcelona, okay, his paycheck has increased significantly. So money is not the issue right now, as he has other things going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree that money is not an issue, because he's absolutely one of the best paid players in Milan's roster as of right now. But he's not the first, especially not the first American player that once he reached this stage of his career, he starts thinking more about, well, I can make pretty much the same money in a league where they play less games, so I can stay more time with my family, and I can have more free time also, because of course one of the issues here in Europe is the fact that the season, especially for a top team, is really, really long, because basically you play 2 seasons, one in the domestic league and another one in EuroLeague. And for example, for a team like Milan, you can even have a season in which you can play 80, 90 games. So it can be very, very difficult to handle that. And another thing that he said that is the fact that most likely, as of right now, the off season for him is not enough to fully recover for when the season is going to start. And of course, especially in the last few seasons, he's had several physical issues, several injuries. So personally, do you believe that this is something that, especially in European basketball, we should start to consider more, the fact to give more rest to the players and more time off between one season and the other one?
Definitely. If it were up to me, I would do it right away. But the thing is that the FIBA and EuroLeague are not dealing with it. I think that their relationship has gone through several periods, say, and stages. Right now, the EuroLeague season is too long, in my opinion. If you talk with most players, they will tell you that it's a great competition. It's everyone against everyone. The level is as high as it has ever been. So 34 games in the regular season, a best of 5 series in the playoffs, and then 2 games for the Final Four to crown a champion. That's too much, in my opinion. If you remember the not so good old days, the European champion would be 20 games, 21 games, pretty much it. Yeah. Now we got 40 games in one season, plus cups, plus the league games, the regular season, the playoffs, super cups, whatever, plus the national teams. We got the FIBA windows. We have to shorten the schedule for players. It's something that Israel Gonzalez, Alba coach, told me the other day. And it has been a constant Aido Garcia Arnes's request over the last years that the EuroLeague and the FIBA should come together in order to reduce the number of games played for the teams. But I don't see it happening in the immediate future, let's say, because the distance between the two major governing bodies of the European club competitions and the world basketball, effectively, is not getting any smaller, let's say.
Yeah, that's true.
Have to bridge the gap in some way.
Yeah, that's true.
It has been impossible so far.
Yeah, it's definitely unlikely that we're going to see some major changes immediately soon. Hopefully, there will be something along the way, but it's still a very tough conversation. And to go on, to continue, of course, with Giorgos, now we're going to focus a little bit more on the Greek clubs in EuroLeague, on Olympiacos and Panathinaikos, because as I said before, this week on Thursday, We're going to have the Greek derby in EuroLeague, a classic, of course, for European basketball. So let's start with Olympiacos. Olympiacos, as of right now, is fourth in the standings. We're talking, of course, also with the standings without the Russian clubs. If you are interested, of course, you can go check that standing in the BasketNews website, considering that EuroLeague is still the old version on their website. I guess they will try to remove that on 21st March deadline will be passed. Olympiacos has won 4 of the last 5 games that they played in EuroLeague. The only defeat recently came against Alba Berlin, which was a little bit weird because supposedly was the easiest game in their recent schedule, but they got defeated in that game. We are recording this on Tuesday, so tonight Olympiacos will play against Zalgiris Kaunas, and then on Thursday they will have the Greek derby against Panathinaikos. What I wanted to ask you, Giorgos, is, of course, as we saw from the results, this has been so far a pretty positive moment for Olympiacos. They are definitely on the run to get that home advantage spot in the playoffs. But what are your expectations on them for this final part of the season? Do you think that they will be able to secure that home advantage spot?
That's a good question. I think they will. Olympiacos right now have no injury issues or COVID issues to deal with. With the roster that Giorgos built and has been working on, I think that the Reds have many chances of going through. They staged an impressive comeback to actually snatch victory from the Giorgos defeat against their main rival Panathinaikos in the Greek Cup final, which took place in Crete almost a month ago. The loss to Alba was indeed a step back following a road win in Munich against Bayern, but now Olympiacos have only must-win games ahead of them. After Zalgiris and Panathinaikos, they will be facing Monaco in Monte Carlo on March 23. 2 days later, on the 25th, they will be taking on Asvel in Lyon, then Barcelona on April 1st in Piraeus, hoping that the home court advantage won't turn out to be an April Fool's prank. Another important factor that can add to Olympiacos' home court advantage is the increased occupancy allowed in Greek gyms, which now reaches 75% of the installation's capacity. This percentage will be effective until March 21, but most probably will keep up over the next few weeks, which means the spectators must be fully vaccinated or recovered, producing their respective certificates, of course. The use of mask is mandatory also throughout their stay. At the competitive level, and if you ask me about the upcoming derby, with any significance that it might hold for Panathinaikos, I guess it's more on the level, the point of view of gaining something out of it ahead of the Greek playoffs, ahead of the Greek finals. But in terms of Olympiacos, it's a must-win game, hands down, I would say. Olympiacos have a very clear structure in terms of how they play. Panathinaikos have some inherent weaknesses on defense, especially on one-on-one in the guard section, with the exception of Sanros and maybe Bohoridis, who compared to Nedovic, Megan, and Jovic are lagging behind in offensive talent. That's why Dimitris Frifis has used his much heralded zone defense. They lack team chemistry, they lack creation, don't have sufficient post-up game, except for Kastelakis. Now the Papapetro is also absent. Olympiacos have the imposing figure of Moustapha Fall. I guess we'll be talking about him later on, who is a real scarecrow in the paint, and he's also responding somewhat unexpectedly well to the requirements of switch defense that Giorgos fosters. Overall, Olympiacos have more players with good footwork and strength for tough defense. Papanikolaou, Walkup, McKissick. They move the ball better, they protect the rim better in terms of preventing opponents from getting second chance opportunities out of offensive rebounds and seek transition points. there are some aggressive, some catalysts on offense, like Tyler Dorsey and Vezenkov with their long distance shooting. Dorsey is a pure scoring guard, as is the case with Daryl Making at Panathinaikos. Vezenkov has been, in my opinion, Olympiacos' most consistent player so far in the season. Even in Olympiacos defeats, he's playing, I would say, up to his abilities. In any case, Kostas Luka is the kind of player that Panathinaikos have greatly missed in the last couple of seasons. The Reds have essentially two basic game changers in Kostas Papanikolaou, who is performing, if you've noticed, very well in home games and rather poorly away from Piraeus this season. This is an issue that Olympiacos should resolve, and Papanikolaou personally, yes. And Shaquille Makesik also has found the way to be impactful whenever Panathinaikos turn up on the court, in any game against Panathinaikos virtually. He was the guy who changed the Cup Finals fate with his penetrations, even with his shooting. So, if we could sum up the situation ahead of the Greek derby, Panathinaikos have a clear leader in Nedovic, while the critical decisions could be made by Daryl Macon in Papapetrous' absence. Giorgos chooses teamwork, chooses good ball circulation, the elements that have brought Olympiacos to the fourth place in the EuroLeague standings. And I think that considering the schedule of the other candidates for the fourth spot, as Anadolu Efes, for instance, Olympiacos have a slight edge, have a very small advantage, because their schedule is a bit easier, let's say, compared to their opponents, but nothing is sure in this EuroLeague. And tonight's game will be very, very important. Tonight we're talking about Tuesday's game versus Zalgiris, because Zalgiris are very much improved right now. For almost 4 months, they had embraced practically the last place in the standings, but with 4 wins in their last 5 games, as Olympiacos have done, everything changed, and their team has made some big wins. They won. They beat Monaco, they beat Panathinaikos, both Real Madrid and Barcelona at home, and thus they have improved their record, and even their team chemistry is better, as Giorgos said, because Geoffrey Lauvergne has returned, and now they have more points of reference spread over the court, all over the court.
Yes, absolutely. And of course, before you mentioned Moustapha Fall, and as you said, we need to talk a little bit about him, because recently Olympiacos announced that Moustapha Fall has signed a contract extension with the club until 2025. So it's a long-term extension, especially when we think about the usual European terms of the contracts. In the contract, there should be also an NBA out every summer, as far as I know. And of course, it was a very important confirmation for Olympiacos, because Fall originally signed only a 1-year deal, so he was supposed to become a free agent this summer. So taking him out of the market so soon is definitely a good news for Olympiacos. And as you said, of course, Fall has been a very important piece in Coach Barzoka's system this year. So I wanted to ask you, what do you think about this move made by Olympiacos? And do you see them trying to extend maybe some of the other players that are on expiring deals before the end of the season? Maybe, I don't know, I think about Tyler Dorsey. Do you think there is some room for that before the end of the season?
Yeah, Olympiacos have been trying to get in touch, let's say, with Dorsey's side in order to renew him. That's okay, that's obvious, let's say, because he's Greek, he's got the Greek passport, he's going to play with the Greek national team probably in the EuroBasket, the upcoming EuroBasket, for 1,000 reasons. Okay, Dorsey is one of the most coveted, let's say, shooting guards or scoring guards in European basketball right now, and Olympiacos have every reason to try to renew him. That's one case that Olympiacos are after. Let's get you to the Moustapha Fall case. I think that never before has Fall stayed so long with the team, with the exception of Poitiers, where he started his career and played there for 3 years. He's had 1-year stints everywhere else he's gone to. So if Olympiacos were looking for a big man who would be a real scale, let's say, in the paint, a creator, and would also have a great influence on the team's game, Fall has surely surpassed the expectations that his initial signing generated. Giorgos Bartzokas and his associates had him on their radar for 3 years. In the summer of 2018, Fall was considered for Aronso's spot at Khimki, which Bartzokas was coaching at the time, but he eventually ended up wearing the Lokomotiv Koban jersey back then. Many say that Bartzokas has made a significant shift with regards to his preferred center prototype, choosing a player who is 2 meters and 18 centimeters tall, while Bartzokas usually plays with shorter, with undersized big men. The truth is that he likes fast centers regardless of height, and Fall, besides his towering, let's say, size, is also quick enough and can easily support the switch-all defense with his ability to follow opponent guards up to the layup and canceling their advantage against the taller players. These abilities were highly appreciated by the technical staff of Olympiacos, and this season, Fall has been one of the most influential players of the team on both ends. Maybe it's away from the basket where he's at his most effective defensively, we could say, namely guarding near the three-point line, forcing bad shots and shot selections. His teammates will look for him from the first moment, either for post-up, to play a pick and roll, to create the conditions for open shot. On offense, he's not only a threat near the basket as he lacks long and mid-range shooting, but he has the instinct of passing either to the player who catches the basket or to those who are standing behind the three-point line in some cases. I think that Olympiacos, as you said, Orazio knew that in the upcoming summer, Fall was going to be in high demand and prepare the ground to keep him for another 3 season in Piraeus. Kyle Hines has probably been the first case in recent Olympiacos history of the players to sign with other teams, as Olympiacos were kind of late in trying to reach out to him. And Michael Ojeski, on the other end, the first notable exception, and Nicola Milutino followed them. It's a mistake, I would say, on the part of the Olympiacos administration and management that has been pointed out over several years and seasons. Players that that Olympiacos had the chance to keep them in Piraeus ended up signing elsewhere.
Yeah.
Now Fall is another case. Okay, and the fact also that Livio Jean-Charles is playing for Olympiacos doesn't hurt either for Fall, because he's living in Glyfada. Glyfada is a region situated in the southern suburbs of Athens. Is a pretty sunny place, close to the sea. You know, these things always matter in terms of non-domestic players signing and deciding to stay with the team.
Yeah. Of course, we focus so far on Olympiacos, and now we have to look also on the other side at Panathinaikos. As Giorgos was saying, of course, the recent rise of Zalgiris Kaunas in results has left Panathinaikos at the bottom of the standings in EuroLeague as of right now. They have won only 2 of their last 5 games. In the last match, they suffered a close loss against Milan. Was a game in which Panathinaikos tried to come back at the end, but they couldn't. They weren't able to finish in the end. And of course, compared to Olympiacos, Panathinaikos at this point of the season is basically already out of the playoff picture in EuroLeague. So what I wanted to ask you, Giorgos, about them is what do you think, for them now in this second and final part of the season is important for them, considering how disappointing were the results so far? What do you think is the most important thing for them until the end of the season? What do they need to find to, gain some optimism also about the future for the upcoming season then?
In terms of morale, it's important for them to win some games and avoid the last place at all costs, I would say. They will be playing Olympiacos, Alba, Fenerbahce away, and then Bayern, Maccabi, Real Madrid at home. Anything less than 2 wins in those 6 contests will probably leave them at the bottom of the table, and that will be a very bad thing for all people in Panathinaikos and around the club, I would say. There's a question that you asked before. What do they need? They need to get some players back, first of all, because Panathinaikos are dealing and have been dealing with several important absences. First of all, Captain Ioannis Papapetrou, who underwent an operation to cure sinusitis in late January and has not come back, nor is there a specific time frame for him to return, and that's the most worrisome, I would say, thing right now. Dimitris Priftis, coach, said that he could step on the court for individual workouts this week, but he's still out. Stefan Jovic suffered a strain in the adductor and is expected to be back in April. Forward Lefteris Matsoukas did not take part in Monday's training session because he was down with the flu. Howard Sunrose, Vasilis Kavadas practice individually. Chances are that those two will play in Thursday's game against Olympiacos in Piraeus. It's a difficult time for Panathinaikos, and the whole season has been going south. Panathinaikos, as we said earlier, have some weaknesses which they haven't managed to cure, even with some additions like Stefan Jovic, who's been out with injury. Maybe the most Panathinaikos, the players with the most quality like Nedovic and Jovic are very injury prone, and that hurts the whole ensemble, I would say, and has damaged Panathinaikos' chances not of qualifying for the playoffs. I wouldn't say that Panathinaikos either way would stand any chances of going through, because they would need between 13 and 15 wins in a total of 28 EuroLeague games, as has turned out, without the Russian teams actually being able to participate from now on. So what is there to make of it? I think that the Panathinaikos are clearly targeting, as we said earlier, the Greek playoffs and the Greek finals against Olympiacos. They have to get all the players back and healthy and try to regroup, reorganize as they did last year, when they were also quite early, practically eliminated from the continuation of the EuroLeague, and look what they can do in a series against Olympiacos, where they will be the underdogs in any case, because in a 5-game series or 4-game or whatever series against Olympiacos, the favorite are the Reds in this case.
Yeah, and to finish this new episode of Full Court Podcast with Giorgos, we're gonna take a quick look at the playoff picture as of right now in EuroLeague.
That's the hard part.
Yeah, it's the hard part. Yeah, exactly. In the first 6 places as of right now, we have Barcelona, Real Madrid, then Olympia Milan, Olympiacos, Bayern Munich, and Anadolu Efes. These are the first 6 teams as of right now in the standings. And then always, as of right now, we have at the 7th place, Maccabi Tel Aviv, and in the final place for the playoffs picture, Crvena Zvezda. So as of right now, the last 2 teams to qualify to the playoffs will be Maccabi Tel Aviv and Crvena Zvezda. So what I wanted to ask you, Giorgos, is do you see them as the last 2 teams that will qualify for the playoffs, or do you see other teams coming up in the final rounds of the regular season? For example, I don't know, Monaco or Alba Berlin or Fenerbahce?
Yeah, in my opinion, Monaco are 11-13 right now. They have been greatly hurt by the decision to leave out games played against Russian teams.
Yep.
But they still can beat Olympiacos. They can beat Baskonia. They can beat Alba at home to qualify. That's all they need, practically, I think. They also got Milan on the road, which will be hard, but I guess it doesn't matter so much. Getting 3 wins is all it takes for them to go through. Zvezda are also clear underdog. Only 1 home game versus Efes, when probably everything will have been decided by then, I guess. Another 4 on the road, although against teams that they can beat, taking out Barcelona, of course. They have Alba, Bayern, Zalgiris. Those are games that they must win in order to qualify, but I don't think they will make it. I'm not sure that this version of Maccabi, with or without Sferopoulos, especially without Sferopoulos, that we're seeing or we're watching, can pull it off. Alba is, my opinion, the team least worried about the outcome of the playoff race. 3 months ago, I did an interview with Israel Gonzalez. I guess he would say the exact same words to me as he did back then. There's a phrase of his that perfectly illustrates the laid-back, carefree manner in which Alba have always approached the EuroLeague games. He said, if you ask me to name or describe one play that Bayern Munich used, I would tell you I simply don't know any. Imagine Pablo Lasso talking like that about Jaskevicius and Barcelona, or vice versa, or Priftis talking about Giorgos. He doesn't know any play that Giorgos uses, for instance. So it would be unthinkable of in Greece and in other countries, I guess, too. Well, that's Alba mentality. That has been their philosophy, their style, the way they approach games, they approach the whole EuroLeague context within the competition. So whether they qualify or not, that's probably, I wouldn't say that it's not their concern, it is their concern, but okay, it's, there's other things more important than that, I guess, in terms of the German league, for instance. So Bayern Munich right now are in a difficult spot. They have a tougher schedule than other teams, but still can pull it through, depending on whether they win certain games. It's a 50-50 situation. I'm not so convinced because we watch Bayern sitting at 12-10 right now, and we'll say that, okay, it's a done deal, pretty much. But they've got Real Madrid on the road, Anadolu Efes 2, Panathinaikos, who will be playing for, okay, their morale, let's say, most of all. Okay, Armani Milan also. These are difficult games. It's not easy to count Bayern in, let's say, by all means, and consider them a lock for the playoffs.
And unfortunately, now Bayern has to deal also with a lot of COVID cases.
Yeah, and no one knows how they will get back. Starting, I guess, from next week, if their second EuroLeague game of the week gets all suspended also after the Fenerbahce game. And it's hard. They still have to get 2 wins if they have got 12 until now to get to 14. They could make it, but their schedule is definitely not supportive of their effort, let's say. Yeah. So I've said Monaco could go through. So my other choice would be difficult, to tell you the truth. I'm not so convinced. I'm not so persuaded by the other team so far. Fenerbahce would stand a chance. Mm-hmm. They're 9-13 right now. They're a bit behind, 11th place. They still have some chances, but I would say that they're not a team to be relied upon so far in the competition. They are capable of pulling off great wins and also unexpected losses so far, suffering unexpected losses. That's the case with Fenerbahce. But they've got Panathinaikos at home, Maccabi away, Alba at home also. They need 4 or 5 wins. The number is maybe too big for Fenerbahce to reach. That's the thing. So I would leave the 8th spot open right now. If you could make a wild guess, okay, I would choose Bayern Munich probably.
Okay, and definitely this will be one of the main topics to follow in the final rounds of the EuroLeague season. So for this brand new episode of Full Court Podcast, we reached the end. Of course, I want to thank you, Giorgos, for jumping in on the podcast and giving your insights. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Orazio. Always a pleasure.
Yeah, as always. And before we finish, I want to remind you that the Full Court Podcast is also available in the audio version on Spotify and all the other major streaming platforms. And of course, you can always find the full format of the show on our website, BasketNews.com, and on our YouTube channel. So don't forget also to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Basket News. So for this episode, it's everything. And with you, basketball fans, we're going to see you very, very soon. Goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone.